What up, YouTube? Here we are, part 32, standing at the gates of the Landsmeet. We have prayed to the almighty banana hammock thong dwarf guy, and we are ready to go. We have slain Loghain's longtime assistant, I guess. Her blood apparently is still on my shield and on Liliana's armor. We are ready to, I mean, that sends a little message when we walk through that door, huh? Regardless, I have no idea what's in store tonight. I'm very excited about it. And as you get yourself pumped up about this, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you sub to the channel. Make sure you follow the links in the description. And make sure you come hang out with us on Twitch sometime at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. We'd love to have you. Thank you for all of your support. And as a reminder, if you would like to pay homage to our savior, the banana hammock thong dwarf guy, merch is available in the merch store at DrMick merch. There's a link down in the description. All right. Sit back, relax, get yourself some snacks. We're going in, baby.
My lords and ladies of the Landsmeet, Tyrn Loghain would have us give up our freedoms, our traditions, out of fear. He placed us on this path, yet we should place our destiny in his hands? Must we sacrifice everything good about our nation to save it?
A fine performance, Aemon. But no one here is taken in by it. You would attempt to put a puppet on the throne, and every soul here knows it. The better question is who will pull the strings. Ah! Here we have the puppeteer.
Oh.
Tell us, Warden, how will the Orlesians take our nation from us? Will they deign to send their troops, or simply issue their commands through this would-be prince? How much Ferelden blood does Orlesian gold buy these days?
That is a very interesting frame. Okay, let's set the stage here. I didn't realize that we were literally walking immediately into this. So, all right, game face on. Here we go, friends. We got a lot of talking to do here. Everybody here has an agenda. Nobody here is interested in listening to what the other person has to say. The entire role, like the entire focus of this exchange is to garner the favor of the people who are voting. Okay? If Loghain himself could be the one that says, I'm the ruler, he would do that here. But he knows that we have to go through this process of the Landsmeet. So he's going to have to some extent, play by the decorum of that, as is Eamon, as am I. The important thing to remember is that there are people watching us right now at every step of what we do. And so my goal always is to remain in control, but that does not mean to be emotionless. In fact, if I come in here fully stoic, that actually probably works against me. Because the people of Denerim need to see that I bring some passion to this discussion. That I do care, that I am amped about what's going on, but they need to see that I am amped not in response to Loghain, not in response to Eamon, not in response to the interactional dynamics that happen here, but rather that I am emotional about the threat that is hovering over the people of Ferelden right now. It is very, very, very important that I cut through what they have had represented of me as a Grey Warden. Because as I walk in here, I am immensely in a one-down position because Loghain has managed to get ahead of the game and on the story that everybody here is exposed to about the Grey Wardens. So I have to ensure that I do not align with that propagandized image, And that instead I show that my passion is not for this political bullshit. There's an acknowledgement of the importance, but that I am passionate about trying to protect the people of Ferelden and make sure that the right person is in the position of power to ensure that that happens. It is inherently understood that I am important by virtue of the fact that Loghain has acknowledged me. And it's important to recognize that Loghain is agitated by my presence, because that means that I am important. So we can allow the process itself to show the weight that I bring to this room instead of me speaking it into existence. I do not gain any favors right now by coming in here and going guns blazing on what I think needs to happen in terms of who should be the king. My important part here is to go to immediately to the why am I here. I am here because there is a blight that affects all of us, that is coming for all of us. We all need to be able to band together here, and as a Grey Warden, that is my primary directive. My goal is to ensure that I back whoever is in the position of power to make sure that everybody here is protected. And what I do by bringing that perspective here is I'm going to force Loghain to show his hand, or I'm going to force Loghain to back me up. Because if I come in here and say I'm trying to protect the people of Ferelden and ensure that the blight, which is the thing that they should be most afraid of right now, is quashed, and I need full unity in order to do that, and Loghain continues to make it about him and who's in the position of leadership and gets all me about this, that runs antithetical to the general message that I'm trying to send to the people of Denerim. I need to show up here through action and through discourse, rather than spending a whole bunch of time trying to deconstruct everything they think they know about the Grey Wardens. I am already important enough to be here because Loghain is allowing me to stand here and hasn't set people to kill me. Well, he has, but they don't know that. But like, they haven't immediately jumped on me and said, get this guy out of here, he's a piece of shit. Loghain has acknowledged me, and that's already putting me up in terms of what other people are watching. So the thing that I think is most important for everybody watching this video, whether you're watching this on YouTube, if you're here live with me right now, is imagine yourself in the position of somebody who is going to be voting here. Somebody who is on the outskirts of this conversation that does not have all the information that we have. And how would this discourse influence you? Because that's the way that we need to be thinking about this. We need the audience in mind. Loghain, Eamon, not our audience. The people who are voting and the people who are trying to watch and see what is important here are the people that matter here. And we have to always be lobbing messages to them through the discourse we have with Loghain. So the way that I'm going to start this is I'm going to talk through the dialogue options here, because yes, let's talk about loyalty to Alistair, your king. There's absolutely no way that I win that any way, shape, or form. That is completely worthless for me to say, because this is going to be news to everybody, right? Like, Loghain didn't say Alistair's name. So as far as we know, they're trying to keep this a secret. I come out here and say to Alistair, your king, everybody is immediately going to be thrown off. Everybody's going to be immediately asking questions going, what? How do we know that? Alistair? Who the hell is Alistair? Right? That's a terrible position for us to take here, especially since I don't have the favor of everybody in this room. I'm not the one who betrayed Ferelden. That is an accusation that I have absolutely no tangible proof of. In fact, I didn't see him betray it. We saw it through a cutscene. I don't have the raw footage to be able to show all the people in this chamber that Loghain bailed on the Grey Wardens. And because Loghain has propagandized people into believing that the Grey Wardens are the problem, he actually looks good for turning his back on the Grey Wardens to an extent, because he saved his men. It wasn't about sacrificing Kaelin, it was about saving his men. So if I come in here with an accusation that he betrayed Ferelden, I have no leg to stand on with that. The thing that I do know, and the thing that is true, is that there is a blight happening. People have seen the Darkspawn with their own eyes. And the blight itself is the issue, not Orlais. I don't know where the hell he's getting this Orlais shit from. I think he's just trying to sow seeds of discord here. So the blight is the threat here, Loghain, not Orlais.
There are enough refugees in Mybanor now to make that abundantly clear.
The South is fallen, Loghain. Will you let Darkspawn take the whole country for fear of Orlais?
The blight is indeed real, Wolf. But do we need Grey Wardens to fight it? They claim that they alone can end the Blight.
No, we don't.
Yet they failed spectacularly against the Darkspawn at Ostagar. And they asked to bring with them 4 legions of Chevaliers. And once we open our borders to the Chevaliers, can we really expect them to simply return from whence they came?
Whoa. If that's not a monumentally ridiculous assumption, I mean, but again, we know that that's ridiculous. All Loghain is doing, is he is trying to use the ultimate what ifs to get people afraid, because he knows that his reputation is as a great strategist, as a guy who gets out in front of all this stuff. So by sowing this seed of fear in what the Orlesians might do if we open the walls and bring them in to fight the Blight, he is just trying to get people to worry about a what if that we don't even know is true, and in fact is kind of a ridiculous claim. But he looks confident in stating this. It reinforces that he is the strategist that they can all rely on to make sure that they don't even have to ask those what ifs, because he's already covered those bases. But you'll notice, like, that's a massive diversion from the problem here. So what we need to do, again, is we need to work with known quantities as a way to get the people in this room to experience a degree of doubt in Loghain's confidence. I need Loghain to be on the rears. And I need him to start reacting to me. That's my goal. You fled the field at Ostagar and left Kaelin to die is not a good option, because, again, I don't have tangible evidence for that, and he very easily could spin that and say, yeah, I did what I needed to do, because otherwise everybody else was going to die. You sold Ferelden citizens into slavery to fund your war. I have proof of that. The problem is they're elves, right? So, though that is true, it's elves, so it's a little bit shaky there, but I have proof of that. You allowed Rendon Howe to imprison and torture innocents. That is a little bit too ambiguous. Loghain has a leg to stand on there, because Loghain could say, I had nothing to do with Rendon Howe. And Rendon Howe, if you'll remember, is dead. So Rendon Howe can't come in here and say, yeah, dude, Loghain was totally with me. Howe's dead, so Loghain can totally spin this. So the best option for me here in my response to him is that he sold Ferelden citizens into slavery to fund the war, because that makes him an active danger to the very people that are sitting in this room, and I have proof to show that that's the case in the form of that letter that I'm holding on to. So that's what we're going to go with here. You sold Ferelden citizens into slavery to fund your war. Did you know that, friends?
What's this? There is no slavery in Ferelden. Explain yourself.
There is no saving the alienage. Damage from the riots has yet to be repaired. There are bodies still rotting in their homes. It is not a place I would send my worst enemy. There is no chance of holding it if the Blight comes here. Despite what you may think, Warden, I have done my duty. Whatever my regrets may be for the elves, I have done what was needed for the good of Ferelden.
Ooh. Not great, man. Not great. But I mean, he is fully entrenched. His core motivation, Loghain's core motivation, is I need to maintain power because I am now afraid. I mean, the other thing about this with Loghain is that if he loses this Landsmeet, then he's toast. He's gonna lose everything. So he's going to grasp onto straws, and he's going to have an explanation for absolutely everything. But remember, everything he does is designed to get under my skin. He knows exactly who he's talking to right now. I'm an elf. He doesn't see, he might act like he sees Grey Warden, but he sees elf too, and he knows that this is going to get under my skin. If I fly off the handle here, it's not going to look good for me, as tempting as it would be to do. So he has this whole I did what I needed to do. He's leveraging the fact that people don't really care much about the elves. That they've seen the elves as objects for a long time, and everybody goes, oh, well, that's kind of gross, but better them than me, right? So it's not the strongest argument, but we got a little bit of movement there, right? Of like, slavery is not allowed here. What the hell? And I would love to be like, I got this piece of paper here that shows it. I've got proof. So we have, why did you try to steal the throne from your own daughter? That is me making way too many assumptions. And again, that is something that people could look at and say, well, that's DrMick's perception. We don't know that that's actually true. And he could very easily be like, I wouldn't do that. Are you kidding me? That's a ridiculous claim. Boom, I'm immediately done because he has the leverage in the favor here. Then you should be supporting Merrick's son. Again, I don't know that I'm ready to inject that in here yet. Because if I get everybody off kilter thinking about Alistair, they're going to stop paying attention to what Loghain is saying. I need everybody to be doubting Loghain by the time that I drop the Alistair bomb. They need to be already at a position where they're starting to put their foot out on Loghain, and then I say, by the way, Alistair has blood of Merrick in him. And then people go, ooh, we're not ready for that yet. Abandoning Kaelin was for the greater good. Not even going to touch abandoning Kaelin. I'm not going to make it personal here. Was sending an apostate to poison Eamon your duty as well. I hate the way that's I hate the way that is positioned, or that's asked, but that's a pretty good one because Eamon's there and we have plenty of eyewitnesses here at this Landsmeet who can corroborate that story. So this might be a decent one to go with. And did you let Howe torture citizens for the good of Ferelden? Again, did you let Howe do that? That makes Howe look terrible. It doesn't make Loghain necessarily look terrible. That's guilt by association. The reason I don't like the way that was sending an apostate to poison Eamon your duty as well, that question suggests, by me asking that as a question, it suggests that I don't necessarily know the answer to it. Right? It's an optics issue. If I had said, if I say instead, yeah, I also know that you sent an apostate to poison Eamon. Isn't that right, Eamon? That statement of confidence makes Loghain have to respond in a different way than if he's simply asking a question. Because if I say, was sending an apostate to poison Eamon your duty as well, he could go, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Right? I need to make that an accusation because then it's a statement of fact that he has to rebut rather than just saying no. Isaac, thanks for gifting that sub. All right. But I like that option better than any of the other ones because we're not ready for some of the other ones, and the other ones I don't think are going to do a good job in terms of garnering the favor of the folks at the Landsmeet. I have Eamon here, and I've got some of Eamon's folks with me who can corroborate the story, who heard what Jowan said, who with their own eyes heard him talk about Loghain, and so we're going to use that here. Loghain was sending an apostate to poison Eamon your duty as well?
I assure you, Warden, if I were going to send someone, it would be my own soldiers. I would not trust to the discretion of an apostate.
Indeed, my brother tells a very different tale. He says you snatched a blood mage from the Chantry's justice. Coincidence?
Do not think the Chantry will overlook this, Terran Loghain. Interference in a Templar's sacred duties is an offense against the Maker.
Whatever I have done, I will answer for later. At the moment, however, I wish to know what this Warden has done with my daughter.
Okay. So I feel pretty good about that. Just as a heads up, chat, I realize that there's some people tagging me in chat, and I appreciate those. I will get to responding to those later. I want to make sure we're fully in the moment here because there's a lot going on in my head. I really appreciate y'all being here. Okay, so that was basically like, yeah, well, if I would have done it, here's how I would have done it. Oh, okay. We got OJ Loghain here. That was not good. That was not good. Right? Because he didn't explicitly say no. He was like, yeah, that's a thing I might have thought of. Right? That was a terrible response. But again, we have him a bit on the rears here because I am getting behind his lines of defense and getting him, again, to react to me. It is very unbecoming when I come at him with confidence. I'm coming at it with him with a confidence that no other person has come at him with, because like Eamon's coming with an emotional intensity. Anora comes with an emotional intensity. I'm coming and I'm being nice and chill, stating the facts, letting him be reactive in reaction to me. Reactive in reaction to me. That's a stupid sentence. Okay. Whatever I've done, I will answer for later. Well, first of all, that's kind of an admission of guilt. I wish to know what this warden has done with my daughter. That's a hell of an assumption, dude. Let's see. We're discussing your crimes here. That's not a good sentence. That's a terrible sentence, because that makes it sound like what I'm doing exactly what he just did. I am basically saying like, yeah, I had something to do with that and I didn't. Okay, so I need to make sure that that's far, 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 far away. I don't want to admit guilt through pawning that off like the way he just did. What are you talking about is a terrible idea. Because I know what he's talking about and I need to be ready with a story. If I say, what are you talking about? Loghain is in a position now where he can craft a story immediately right in front of all of us. And then I have to react to it. So I am not about to be in a position of reactivity. All right. So what have I done? I've protected her from you. Anora is hopefully going to back that up, because that is ultimately true. She acknowledged that her dad did that. So this is the most prepared response I could have, right? I want to know what this warden's done with my daughter. What have I done? I protected her from you, man. And now, if I put that out there, the beautiful thing about this is I'm not making a specific accusation at him. I am giving him a very vague thing to respond to when I say I've protected her from you. He's going to project. Because what I've done throughout this conversation so far is shown that I know things about him that he may not have realized that I know. So when I throw this out here in a very vague sense, he's going to project. He's going to make an assumption about what I'm referring to. He has no idea what Anora has told me. He doesn't know where Anora is at with this. He probably doesn't listen to his daughter well enough to be able to really make a good idea of it. So his reaction is going to be an admission of guilt to an extent, or he's at the very least going to show me where his head's at with all of this. So I really don't like these first two options. I think this is the best one as a result of that. All right. What have I done? I've protected her from you.
You took my daughter, our queen, by force, killing her guards in the process. What arts have you employed to keep her? Does she even still live?
I believe I can speak for myself.
What up?
Lords and ladies of Ferelden, hear me. This warden has slandered and defamed Ferelden's greatest hero in a bid to put an impostor on Merrick's throne.
Oh. Ooh. Okay. All right. We're not gonna. Okay. Again, we have to take a second. We have to assess this, right? Holy shit. Okay. I am not entirely surprised that this happened. I told you all back when we talked to her back in Arl Neiman's estate, she has an ulterior motive. She absolutely has an ulterior motive. She stands to gain from her father having some sort of position of power here because she knows that Alistair is an absolute threat to her. She has to come in here and say this, because if she comes in here and backs me up and then she's afraid I'm going to pick Alistair because it was very non-committal to her, she's trying to save her own face. Like, she has her own agenda in the same way that Eamon does. So I'm not entirely surprised here. If I say I knew you were working with Loghain, that shows I think that shows weakness, right? Because it shows that, like, I mean, that doesn't actually add anything here. Like, I don't feel good about saying I knew you were working with Loghain. Because then if I'm watching them going, why didn't you do something about it, dude? Like, what the hell? She comes in here and you said that you saved her and she just is gonna feed you that. Like, what? So I'm on the rears a little bit here. I don't want to be super reactive, right? He tried to kill you. That's an accusation that falls completely flat. Because if Anora actually understood that and believed that, she wouldn't be standing up against me right now. What is a little bit of a reaction too? So like all three of these are pretty rough here in terms of what to do. I need more information from her. So, oh man. I'm gonna maybe have a little bit of a, actually, no, you know what? The more I think about this, I think this is probably a good space for an authentic reaction. I think if the crowd sees that I'm surprised by this, what it sends to them is that I had probably talked with her. I did what I did, thinking that perhaps she was going to be somebody that was worth saving, and her coming in here and saying that is a surprise to me. So I think people need to see that I'm surprised. Like, where is this coming from? This isn't what we talked about. I think people need to see that maybe this is a dissonant way of presenting herself relative to what's going on right now. What?
Oh, she turned on us. What a shock. She seemed like such a nice despot.
It has become clear to me, Warden, that the true threat to this nation is you. I offered you the chance to ally with me for the good of this nation, and you refused it. I will not allow you to destroy the throne Kaelin and I have held.
Who here can say that Anora is not fit to rule this land? And who can say that this Alistair is? We know nothing of him, save that he may have royal blood. For 5 years, Anora has been queen, and proven herself worthy of the Theron name. She can lead our people through this crisis, and I can lead her armies. My lords and ladies, our land has been threatened before. It's been invaded and lost and won times beyond counting. We Fereldans have proven that we will never truly be conquered so long as we are united. We must not let ourselves be divided now. Stand with me, and we shall defeat even the Blight itself!
Southreach stands with the Grey Wardens.
Waking Sea stands with the Grey Warden.
Dragon's Peak supports the Warden. The Western Hills throw their lot in with the Wardens. Make her help us.
I stand by Loghain. We've no hope of victory otherwise.
I'm with Loghain. Who else could defeat the Blight? Loghain, I'm with you.
This bodes ill for us all.
Eamon, I don't know much about this, so I'm gonna need you to tell me what happens now, brother.
The Landsmeet has spoken. Following these Grey Wardens has cost us our king. We must not allow it to cost us our country. I charge Eamon, Alistair, and this Warden with treason. Take these traitors outside to await execution.
To arms! We will not be taken without a fight.
Really?
For
Wow.
Ferelden!
Okay. So we're just gonna bloodbath this, huh? Wow. This is so stupid. This is so dumb. Hate this. Hate this.
Alistair's name, stop! We will have order.
Agreed. Let there be no further bloodshed in the Landsmeet.
Alistair's right to the throne is challenged. His challenger's honor is in doubt. In the past, such disputes were settled by duel. Will the Landsmeet agree?
Yes, if it will avoid further bloodshed. But it must be fought according to tradition, by strength of arms only, in single combat until one party yields. Do you accept the terms?
That's such an immersion breaker. I'm gonna bitch about that for a second. What? Like, we're all just engaging in bloodshed and this one lady just yells, hey, knock it off, and everybody's like, okay, never mind. Hold on, guys. Oh, man. She full named everybody, right? Holy shit. Oh, God. Her influence is okay. All right, because I'm reading chat right now. Like, oh, she's got the authority. We really think that you get a bunch of people swinging swords at each other and an old lady yells that's gonna make them stop? No, 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 no. As soon as we start pulling swords on each other and swinging them at each other and hitting the armor and getting some cuts and stuff, whatever, no, brain's going offline. Brain is in pure survival mode. In fact, to an extent, you wouldn't even hear her yell. Nobody's listening for Chantry Lady to yell and stop the fight. You are so engrossed in surviving that situation and that fight, there's no possible way that people listen to her scream out over the hall and say, stop! I mean, we really have to stretch here. The only way to really headcanon this would be to say that this is what happened as soon as Loghain said, I'm charging you with treason, and then Chantry Lady said, like, we're just gonna, I just have to imagine that fight just never happened. Like, it never happened. Loghain said, I'm charging you with treason. Chantry Lady said, all right, well, then you're gonna have to duel. Like, that's the only way that I can get my mind around this, because it was such a stupid thing for that to happen like that. Do you accept the term? Boy, okay, so let's get back into this. This is pretty dicey because we do have to operate with the idea that this is a long-standing tradition that the people of Ferelden and of Denerim are strongly inclined to uphold. I hate that I have to speak for Alistair here. I have no idea what happens if I refuse. I want to turn around. So I think this is what I'm struggling with is I would prefer to turn around and say to Alistair, what do you want to do? Do you want to accept that or not? Because this is Alistair's time to step up. And honestly, I think it looks pretty terrible from an optics standpoint if I speak for Alistair here. Like, if I say for Alistair, yeah, Alistair accepts. Who's the real... if you haven't watched my Red Dead Redemption playthrough yet, the conversation we had a lot in my Red Dead Redemption playthrough is gonna pull out here, which is there is explicit and implicit leadership. There are the people that we look at and we say that is the leader. We define them as the leader. And then there are the implicit leaders who are usually the actual leaders that maybe aren't even necessarily noticed and understood to be the leaders. So I am acting as implicit leader here. We're talking about Alistair being the leader. But if I speak for Alistair and I say, yeah, Alistair accepts and I'll be his champion, I'm the leader. This is a moment where Alistair needs to say, I'm not fighting this. I don't want it. So if the Landsmeet, if the decision is 4-2, figure out what that means, but I'm not gonna duel Loghain. And if he doesn't want to speak up, then it is not my place to say that Alistair accepts and that I'll be his champion. I just don't think that looks good. But I also don't know that turning this down is a good idea. Like if I say no, I have no idea what the ramification of that is. If I say yes, I know that I could probably kill Loghain. Right? But Alistair not speaking up tells me that he really doesn't want this. Oh man, but do I lose the favor of the okay, no, you know what? Here's what I would love to do. Here's what I would love to do. I would love to be able to say, we refuse the duel because this is ridiculous. We have a blight coming at us. The thing that I care about here is I care about stopping the Darkspawn. I think Loghain could be potentially useful in fighting in the Darkspawn. I don't want to fight him. I don't want to kill him because we could use him in the fight against the Darkspawn. What good am I? How am I any better than Loghain if I kill him when we could have his strategic mind in our fight against the Blight? That is what I would probably say. And as a reminder, chat, do not spoil this. I swear to God, if anything even remotely sniffs like a spoiler, mods, get it out. Do not allude to what could potentially happen. Do not put any kind of indicator on it. All it's going to do is piss me off. She did say it was a fight until somebody yields. That is true. Oh, this is such a hard decision. It's such a hard decision, man. I can tell you I'm not putting Liliana or Shale up. Honestly, I don't even want to put Alistair up. I don't want to speak on behalf of Alistair, though. But, oh, man, but Loghain has shown his hand. Oh, man, I don't know how we beat the Blight if Loghain's in power and he's shutting out the Orlesians. Oh my God, I hate this. I hate this. I don't want either of them in power. I really don't. I don't want Alistair to be the king either. And I'm worried that Loghain wins if I say no. I mean, I have so little influence here because what I would love to do is I would love to duel him, get him to yield, and then say, we're not doing this with Alistair. Loghain yielded, and I'm a champion of, like, Eamon or something like that. Doesn't matter if Alistair wasn't in the room because Alistair is in the room. So that doesn't change anything. Alistair is literally in the room. And Alistair has not said anything other than that he was, I suppose, a bit frustrated by the way that Anora showed up in the room. I just really hate me being the one that speaks on his behalf when I know he doesn't want it. But knowing that Loghain is also a problem. And I am potentially... Oh my god. This is so hard. This is so hard because I told you all what I would do. And I don't have that option here. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I have no idea whether this is actually going to pay off for me. I think we have to go with the tradition. I think we have to go with the decorum. As much as I don't like it, I think we have to do this duel. I am going to allow Alistair... What I would hope happens here is that Alistair is going to look at Eamon and say, you know what? I might be the king. I'm willing to make the appearances, but I'm not doing the strategy. I don't know the first thing about this. The thing is, I can't afford, in this moment, with the variables that I have, I can't afford to have Loghain witch hunting me, sowing seeds of discord between Ferelden and Orlais, dividing the nation because we're all going to perish. So if this means that it's a show of force, I had the votes, a couple people get pissed, but we're able to have Eamon as a strategist here, and Alistair is just the face of it. He doesn't have to marry Anora. He doesn't have to do anything. I think that's better for the good of the nation. And you know what? Ultimately, if I win this duel, Alistair's going to be the king. He can decide what he wants to do. Because he's the king. So it's not like I'm championing Alistair going into a position of like marginalization. I'm literally championing Alistair getting the ultimate position of privilege. Zyphon, thank you for the sub. I can't afford to refuse it. I need Loghain to yield. And if he ends up dying, so be it. I'll be his champion.
It is you or me the men will follow. So, let us fight for it. Prepare yourself.
I really hate this. I hate all of this. Ooh. Love that there's no music. Oh, now there is. Okay. La da 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 da. Literally don't have any stamina to do anything. So we're just gonna do our stock moves and block everything he gives us.
Wonderful.
Well done.
Yes.
Yield, dude, or are you gonna let me kill you?
Not again. Wonderful.
I underestimated you, Warden. I thought you were like Kalen, a child wanting to play at war. I was wrong. There's a strength in you that I have not seen anywhere since Marek died. I yield.
I don't think killing him is a good idea. There was a part of me that wondered if I chopped his head off, I wouldn't have to worry about him, but I don't think that's a good idea. I think everybody's watching me. I think everybody sees in what he's saying that he ultimately, like I said, he cares about Ferelden. He's a bad dude. And I think one of the first directives that we would do is we'd throw his ass in jail. I want his ass in a dungeon. And I actually think that that sends more of a message than killing him does. I understand where you were coming from, dude. But you don't get to get out of here scot-free. And I don't see, one of the things that can happen, this is a really tricky situation, because something that can happen here when you have somebody who, I'm not saying that Loghain built a cult. I think that's probably a bit strong. I do think, though, that Loghain had some pretty fervorous support. One of the things you do if you use an extreme measure on somebody who has gained that much intensity around his following is you inadvertently make him a martyr. Because what happens is when you kill somebody, or when somebody dies, you freeze the nature of that person's relationship to their constituents. You don't change it. So if I kill Loghain, the feverish support that he has in some ways goes on in perpetuity through his martyrdom. He died for his cause, and I, as a ruthless bastard, was the one that did it. So now, instead of people looking at me and wanting to follow me, they look at me as a ruthless bastard who, on behalf of Alistair, beheaded a guy who was just trying to do the best for Ferelden. As icky as that feels, the best way for us to get people to disconnect from their sense of connection to him, Jesus, I can't speak. The best way to get people to disconnect from that loyalty is to diminish his importance. is to keep him alive and to be merciful, but to hold him accountable, to work to reauthor the narrative, to get him to understand what he did, and to get him to turn those folks around. Killing him is not going to be the option here. It might feel like a good option because it wipes him out, and because then we don't have to worry about what kind of nasty stuff he can do. But ultimately, he just followed the decorum of this. He yielded. Everybody just watched that happen. And now we use our power and influence to try to turn the tides here and take the higher road while also holding him accountable for what he did. I think me killing him would be too much of a personal act. And everything Loghain has done to this point has been a personal act. And I don't want the people of Ferelden thinking that people in positions of power are doing this out of a personal agenda. I want people to see leadership in Ferelden amidst the Blight as something that exists in order to protect them and ensure that they are able to live their lives the best way that they can. So I accept your surrender. I also think that the surrender, I think really just the surrender is going to hurt him more than death would.
I didn't just hear you say that. You're going to let him live after everything he's done? Kill him already!
Oh, Alistair.
Wait, there is another option. Bataeon is a warrior and general of renown. Let him be of use. Let him go through the door.
Oh, man. I didn't even think of that. Holy shit. That is some psychological warfare. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so he's been shitting on the Grey Wardens the whole time. And in order to become a Grey Warden, you have to you have to drink the blood of Darkspawn. There's a chance it can kill you. For those who don't remember. So if Loghain drinks the Darkspawn blood and dies, well then he dies, right? If he drinks the Darkspawn blood and he lives, he's now a Grey Warden. Now, what I don't like about this, I love the psychological warfare aspect of that, but here's what I don't like about this. I am not a huge fan of people in positions of power and privilege winning out when they do poorly. If Loghain drinks the blood of the Darkspawn and becomes a Grey Warden, that's not terrible, right? Like now he gets to have a position of renown. So just because he's some brilliant strategist, that means he gets to escape the accountability for what he's done. Like I don't like that. I don't like the idea that Loghain gets to go on a warpath and propagandize the masses. And then his punishment is that he gets to become a position that is revered throughout the land until he tarnished the name. Now, do I think him becoming a Grey Warden potentially turns the tide on how people look at the Grey Wardens? Yes. I also think that Alistair has the ability to potentially do that. I mean, this is really tricky because I also don't know if he becomes a Grey Warden, how he yields that, like how he wields that power. And I understand that Loghain could refuse this. At least he'd be dedicating his life to fighting the Blight instead of politicking. I don't know that I agree with that because look what we're doing. My whole goal is to be fighting the Blight, and my ass is sitting in a Landsmeet politicking. Right? So like there's not a The Grey Wardens are not shielded from being involved in the politics of Ferelden. We literally have been spending our time gathering armies and politicking this. I'm okay with the joining being exposed to the public eye. I have been very critical of the Grey Wardens and the way that they do things. So I don't think it's a terrible thing for people to see the joining be more of a public thing. I want a little more information. Would that even work? Because he's not exactly loyal to us.
What does loyalty matter? We are what we are. The joining binds us to the Darkspawn. You know this. If you were to forswear your oath and flee today, you'd find yourself in the Deep Roads, or the Blight Lands given time. You'd seek them out, or they'd seek you.
The joining itself is often fatal, is it not? If he survives, you gain a general. If not, you have your revenge. Doesn't that satisfy you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
No. This man abandoned our brothers and then blamed us for the deed. He hunted us down like animals. He tortured you. How can we simply forget that?
I kind of agree. This is the first time that Alistair has stepped up and said something. He has a point. Because using Loghain as a pawn, again, I don't know that that makes us any better than anybody else. Like Alistair has dedicated his entire life and identity to the Grey Wardens. Alistair is essentially now being asked to give up being a Grey Warden to be the king, which is somewhat sad, in my opinion, despite the fact that he gets to be king. I think it's sad that the thing that he autonomously decided he wanted to be is something that he now doesn't get to be. And so then to watch the person that you've been fighting against, the person who turned his back on your best friend and the person that you believed in, the person who killed your mentor, is now having the opportunity to join the ranks of the thing that you joined and that you revere. I think that's terrible. I think for Alistair, I mean, that just, yeah, sure. Okay, Loghain's a smart guy. Of course he is. But he had an opportunity to use his power, to use his strategy for the greater good. And he did not do that. And I really believe that as the people, because again, the people are still watching us. I believe that as people watch and they see Alistair speak up here, and then I say, yeah, he gets to do this and do the ritual when Alistair explicitly said no, I'm undermining Alistair's emerging leadership as the king. So I actually don't, as nefarious and slick as it is to have him do that. He's got to die for his crimes.
You can't do this. My father may have been wrong, but he is still a hero to the people.
Anora. Hush. It's over.
Stop treating me like a child. This is serious.
Daughters never grow up, Anora. They remain 6 years old with pigtails and skinned knees forever.
Father.
Just make it quick, Warden. I can face the Maker knowing that Ferelden is in your hands.
Wow. That could have gone worse. That really could have gone worse. I don't like Loghain, but I gotta hand it to him. He could have made this absolute hell. I think in this moment right here, Loghain is connecting with his love of Ferelden. Now, what I don't like Again, I don't like that I have the choice here. I'm not the one that's going to do. This isn't mine to do. This is not mine to do. I also think that Loghain probably... So, here's what's tricky. Okay? What he just said to Anora, I think, is him just kind of accepting death. I don't think that that was, like, necessarily Loghain being sexist. I actually think that that was, like, a tender moment for Loghain. I think he was basically saying, like, Anora, you're my daughter, and you will always be my daughter, and it's very hard for me to see you as anything other than a 6-year-old with pigtails and skin knees, somebody I want to take care of. I think that, like, Loghain probably is afraid for Anora, and he's overcompensating as a parent in a way that's not very becoming of her own autonomy, but I think that that came from, like, probably a pretty decent place of, you're always my daughter, and I care very much about you, and I don't really know how to express it beyond that. The problem with Loghain is that because he has used so many backdoor, slick and sly, manipulative tactics, it's very hard to trust his authenticity right now. So, though we can start to hear some of the tiring in his voice, and he says, just make it quick, I can face the Maker, knowing that Ferelden's in your hands, that could be a last-ditch effort to try to get us to back off of killing him. It wouldn't surprise me, because his show of force tactics haven't worked at all. So, to me, this is him being like, I'm going to do what I can to make myself a sympathetic figure right now. Somebody who looks warm and fuzzy, that my intentions all along were good, as a way to save face as we kill him. Me saying I can't do it, I don't think is good, because I can't trust that that's then going to lead to people saying, so then what? Like, it's just... I can do it. This isn't about whether I can or can't do it. I do think that Alistair is the one that needs to do this, though. I think that people need to see Alistair do this instead of me.
I will. I owe that to Duncan.
So it is decided. Alistair will take his father's throne.
Wait, what? No. When did this get decided? Nobody's decided that. Have they?
He refuses the throne. Everyone here has heard him. I think it's clear then. He abdicates in favor of me.
I hardly think you're the appropriate person to mediate this, Anora. Warden, will you help us?
All right, a couple things. First of all, we should have sent everybody out of the hall to kill Loghain. I don't think we needed to kill him in front of everybody. I think all that's going to do is traumatize people. Anora just watched her father die, although she bounced back pretty quick. She just literally watched her father get beheaded, and she's like, no, okay, Alistair doesn't want it. Give it to me. But, ugh, don't like that. That was not great to do it that way. I'm gonna be honest. Alistair's comments there were pretty immersion breaking for me. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm literally struggling to figure out how to even analyze what he said, because it just doesn't fit. Like, literally Alistair being like, what? Like, Alistair, what the hell do you think all of this has been about? When I said that I was going to fight as your champion, what in the hell did you think that meant? It's been very clear at this point that, like, killing Loghain was so that you'd be the king, dude. Like, that could not have been more clear. So, like Alistair being surprised there just straight up doesn't make any sense to me. Because he's not that dense. I mean, so that just, I'm kind of reeling a little bit from that. Like, that really threw me off. I'm like, what the hell is that? Now, again, everybody's deferring to me. I know it's a video game. I know it's a video game. And so it's designed so that I can make decisions. Yada, 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 yada. Oh. Now the question is, who do I want to talk to? I feel like I know Anora's intentions. So I think I want to talk to Alistair first. Like, dude, I need to figure out where your head's at. What the hell was all that about?
Strange. I feel like I'm back at the Abbey, trying not to get chosen last for the sparring teams.
All right. What do you think I should do, Alistair?
You're asking me? Well, I guess your options are give the crown to the woman who double-crossed us, or give the crown to me. Thrilling, I know. Frankly, I think you should give her the throne. I've never wanted it. But it's up to you.
You really think I should choose her?
On the one hand, she did almost have us killed. On the other hand, no, there is no other hand. Don't make her queen.
What makes you a better choice than her, then?
This wasn't exactly my first choice when we got to Denerim, but I know what we're up against. I know what's at stake. And after what she's already done, do we really trust her to help us?
You willing to give up your freedom?
If that's the price of ending the Blight, it's my duty as a Grey Warden.
That is interesting. You think you're ready to be king?
Are there people who are ready for that sort of thing? But I guess if it comes down to it, I'll do my best. Oh, I think my stomach just twisted up in a knot or something.
Okay. I actually appreciate that conversation. And I love that Alistair is connecting that to his sense of duty as a Grey Warden. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. It shows that he is fully aligned with that, right? Like, in some ways, him becoming the king is an act of Grey Wardenship. Because his duty is to the Blight. He is presented with an opportunity to lead Ferelden against it, and he gets to do it from a position of king as a Grey Warden. That's actually a pretty cool frame. And it's one that makes a lot of sense to me. Did what Anora did to us personal? Yes. I think what Anora did was shitty. I do not like that she came into this and then she immediately went against us, but I also understand it. I think that she was afraid of what was going to happen. We just saw her have a slight reaction to her dad dying, and then now she's just like, all right, cool, like, he doesn't want to give it to me. She's a bit eager to grab the power. We already know that she was leading, but we're going to get to her in a second. Alistair, the way that you have to read where Alistair is at with things is through his tone. When he is scratched with vulnerability, he tends to have that lighthearted, jokey tone. But then when he realizes that this is a serious conversation, he's observant enough to change the tone of his voice down. And he did that. So he changed his tone over and said, I understand why I may be pretty decent here. I know what's at stake. I know we have to fight the Blight. I see it as my duty of Grey Warden. I'm willing to do my best. And honestly, he does have a lot of good strategists in his corner, like Arl Eamon and the other Grey Wardens. And I think it's also an opportunity potentially for him to change the representation of the Grey Wardens. And I think he may know that. So he has been very clear that he likes duty over freedom, or that his duty as a Grey Warden is important to him. So that changes a bit of my perspective as it relates to Alistair. I feel better about him now and that after that conversation than I did before it. But we're going to talk to Anora as well and see where she's at.
Certainly.
You're sort of a ruthless bitch. Jesus, that's a bit strong. Who do you think I should choose?
Warden, there's no doubt on this subject. Alistair would be a disastrous king. I can lead for Eldon. I have proven this.
I could be the queen because Alistair will be bad at it is not a very good reason. What makes you a better choice than Alistair?
Surely that's not a serious question. I have been the ruler of this nation in all but name for the last 5 years. I can lead for Eldon. Alistair can't. If you give him the crown, then you've only brought us a brief pause in the Civil War. It will resume again at the first opportunity, and it won't end until a new dynasty holds power.
You don't know that. He'll have my help and Eamon's.
And he'll need it. He can't hold the throne on his own, and every soul here knows it. Opportunists will forever be watching him, waiting to grab power.
There it is. Could you be any more transparent? I don't like people who operate on unknown variables. It ain't gonna be her. Nope, she's gotta go. Why should I trust? I want to see what she says to this. Why should I trust you after what you've done?
Because I will always do what is necessary for my people. Doubt anything else about me, Warden, but not that.
Yeah, I'm ready to choose. I mean, I come on. She had a real opportunity there to sway me, and she completely fell flat. I mean, it is so clear through all of this that she operates so much on assumptions, and she is operating on what ifs. And right now, if she said nothing about the Blight, she says nothing about the Blight, chat. She says nothing about getting everybody together. I know how to rally people. I know how to fight the Blight. I can change the representation of the Grey Wardens. She said none of that. She has no idea what audience she's working with when she's talking with people, and that's been clear throughout this entire thing. You got to know who you're talking to. The fact that she is like sitting here and she's literally talking to a Grey Warden and an elf Grey Warden whose alienage was purged by her father, to which she did absolutely nothing. She sat up in her house and was just like, yeah, I want to figure out how I can get on the throne, dude. Absolutely not. And now she's talking about potential opportunists when the time arises itself. She's already thinking about her next move post-Blight without attending to the matters at hand. There is absolutely no way I'm putting her on the throne. No way. This is, if I'm Alistair, I'm hitting the net and I'm going, well, that speaks for itself.
As the arbiter of this dispute, what is your decision? Who will lead for Eldon?
I mean, I'm basically the king right now because I'm the one making the decision. I'm not marrying them. No way am I doing that to them. That's some real bullshit. Alistair.
This is where I wake up, usually. Or everyone points and laughs because I have no clothes on.
Anora, the Landsmeet has decided against you. You must now swear fealty to our king, and relinquish all claim to the throne for yourself and your heirs.
If you think I will swear that oath, Eamon, you know nothing of me.
You'll have to do something about her, Alistair. Be reasonable. I mean, she's not being hysterical. I understand what she's doing. Of course she's not going to just do that. Chad, if anybody here thought that she was just going to turn around and go, okay, all hail Alistair. No. Of course she was going to do this. Of course she was going to do this. Is that really necessary, Eamon?
We cannot leave Ferelden in a state of civil war. We must have unity. If she will not swear fealty to you, Alistair, and renounce her claim to the throne, she is a threat to us all.
Oh, God. Okay,
what
Boomer.
do you want me to do exactly? Kill her? I can't do that. I guess... put her in the tower for now. Lock her up. Maybe we can find somewhere to send her. Later.
Thank you, Alistair. You show me mercy that I would not have shown you.
Very well, then. Guards, take her away.
My man. My man. Love that.
Your Highness, would you address the Landsmeet?
Oh, that will be me, right?
Clean yourself up, Alistair.
I never knew him, but from all I've heard of my father, what defined him was his commitment to protecting this land.
Why am I intervening here? Jesus, BioWare. Pancake, Jordan, and Jugger, thank you very much for the subs. Why am I... Come on, dude. Just let him talk. I hate all of these options. Like, why am I all of a sudden being a dick to Alistair? Get to the Blight already? Just tell them what to do? Shut up and put on the damn crown? There's no reason for me to intervene here. Like, I really do. I really hate this. Get to the Blight already.
I was getting there. Anyway, the Blight, yes. I may be Merrick's son, but I am also a Grey Warden. I took an oath. I swore I would stand and fight the Darkspawn, no matter the cost to myself. I can't break that oath just to wear the crown. I have to go with my fellow Warden to face the Blight. When the Blight is over, I'll come back and take up my duties, whatever they are, as king. Until then, I think Al Eamon will have to be my regent.
Then I can do Merrick's memory no less honor than you do. I accept. And may the Maker bless your efforts against the Darkspawn.
My fellow Grey Warden will, I hope, take Loghain's place as the leader of my armies. Shall we finish this thing together?
I can do no less, my king.
Everyone, get ready to march. It's going to take all of Ferelden's strength to survive this Blight. But we will face it, and we'll defeat it! We'd better get going. Ferelden is depending on us.
All right, so he's leaning into it. I give him credit for that.
You made me king. After all this is over with, they're actually going to put me on the throne. I'm going to be the king.
You are indeed. Before we... Well, let's talk to Alistair first, and then I have a point that I want to make about all this. And here I thought you'd be speechless.
Speechless? I'm furious. How could you do this to me? I've done nothing but regret my blood since the day I was born. I don't want this. I never wanted this. I hate the very idea of it. I knew that Al Eamon wanted this for me, but I never did. I thought for sure that there would be a way out of it. But then you went and put me on the throne yourself. Why?
Okay, this is understandable. I'm not gonna be shitty with Alistair for oscillating here. and I am not going to take his anger personally. It actually makes a lot of sense to me based on what we've talked about throughout this playthrough why Alistair would be mad. He's going to go back and forth between being okay with the position because he knows what his duty is and being angry about it because of course he's angry about it. Everything he built for himself is being taken down in lieu of something that he was actively trying to get away from. All you had to do, so in his indecisiveness in this oscillation is what's causing a lot of problems, because all he had to do was say to me, dude, I don't want it. I know that Anora pulled some real bullshit, but I really think you need to put her on the throne because I don't want it. Everything he just said to me here is what I would have loved for him to have said in that conversation if that's how he felt. I thought there'd be a way out of it. I don't want to be on the throne. Please, for the love of God, put Anora on the throne and we'll figure out how to deal with it. But he didn't do that. So he knows, I think, at the end of the day, that this is a decent option for the good of Ferelden and for the oath that he took and for his identity as a Grey Warden, but it's not good for his identity as Alistair. He's having to reconstruct it. And he's having to reconstruct it at a point in his life where it's a hell of a lot harder to do that. He's not a teenager. This guy's a full-grown adult. It's very hard to rework our identity that profoundly the later on we get. People like to settle into their identity rather than blow it apart and start over. So his anger here makes a lot of sense to me. And this oscillation is something that's going to go on for quite some time here. And he's also going to learn that there are ways for him to defer certain aspects of being the king that he doesn't want. I mean, he literally made Eamon the regent, and he gets to go off as Grey Warden. So he gets to do his Grey Warden thing here. So it's not all is lost. He's gonna zoom massively in on the change here, which is that I don't know what this is gonna mean when I come back. Would you prefer I gave Anora the... Well, I mean, that I don't like that question. Your country needs you, Alistair, is bullshit. I'm not throwing the weight of the country at him. That's a bullshit argument there. That's me deferring the accountability for my decision, because ultimately I did make the decision here. So, don't you think this is a good thing? Pretty clear he doesn't. I don't see why you're so upset about this. Yes, I do. Because I enjoy torturing you, that's why. This is not a time to be playful with him. It's okay to address him with humor, because he does that a lot. But I am not going to use this joke because he's not coming at us with his typical jokey tone here. And I think this is very tone deaf. So the one that I'm going to go with here is, don't you think this is a good thing? Because do you prefer I give it to Anora instead? Like, it's too late for that. I made my decision. That's already done. Don't you think this is a good thing?
A good thing? Are you serious? I've just never thought of myself as a leader. I'm going to make a terrible king, you have to know that. How can I make decisions that are going to affect the lives of everyone in the kingdom? I guess I don't really have a choice in this now, do I? I'll do my best, of course, and I expect that you'll be there to help me, right?
Right, so there it is. So his anger is a front for insecurity, which makes a lot of sense. He is ultimately worried about... He is engrossed in the what-ifs that come along with this. He is But this is actually a good thing from a leadership standpoint. You don't want leaders who are paralyzed by the responsibility that they have, but you absolutely want leaders that actually understand the gravity of the role that they have. And the fact that Alistair is realizing right now the gravity of his position, that real lives will be at stake in the decisions that he makes, that the folks of Ferelden are now going to be looking to him for confidence and for narrative in times of distress and uncertainty. Like, I would prefer to have a king who understands that rather than one who is tone deaf to it and only paying attention to themselves. So that is a good thing. He is also not saying... I mean, he says I don't want it, but then when you go the extra layer, he goes to, I'm just not sure I'd be good at it. And so the thing that I would want to ask Alistair is, Alistair, if I could promise you that you were going to be good at it, that you had the right people in your corner, would that change the way that you're looking at this? Like, is this really about you not wanting this, or is it about a sense of insecurity around what it will be like to have to make some tough decisions when you've built an identity around this fact that you're a follower, not a leader? Because I can tell you right now that what I saw in that chamber immediately after I made the decision was leadership. So it seems to me that there's data that suggests that you can do this. You're just not fully connected with it because you haven't given yourself the opportunity to do that. And you'll have plenty of time to do that when you get back. I'm not trying to like challenge his autonomy. I'm not trying to override his narrative, but I would want to crack it open a little bit and see like, what is the actual resistance here? Is it a legitimate autonomous, I do not want this? Or is it I'm just worried about whether I'll be good at it and meet people's expectations for it? My guess would be the latter, because as a follower, one of the things that you do as a follower is you fully understand and immerse yourself in the expectations of leadership. Alistair being the ultimate backstop for leadership now means that he does not have leadership to defer to in order to get reassurance or in order to have a certain directive, which is why then he immediately asks me, I expect that you'll be there to help me, right? Because Alistair at the end of the day has not built up a sense of skill and strength in his ability to make a decision, even though he just actively did it with how he handled Anora. So we just need to get him connected with that. There's not a book on how to do this. There's not another king that's going to come in and say, here's how you do this, king. You are going to be one that makes decisions, but yeah, you're going to have support. I'm going to help you out. Absolutely. If you want me there, of course I'm there.
Good. Then it's settled. Arleman has left for Redcliffe. He says the army has gathered there and is almost ready to march. As soon as we're ready, we should head to Redcliffe ourselves. The Blight awaits, right?
Sure does. Alistair disapproves. Doesn't surprise me. Anora was deposed. Alistair was given the throne. Alistair was recognized at the Landsmeet. Even returned to Redcliffe to prepare for the Blight. Loghain was defeated and executed. Alrighty. All right. That was a hell of a sequence there. And there's a point that I want to make about all of this that I think the game has to bypass, because you couldn't inject all of this into the game. I wouldn't expect it. You have to fast forward some of this stuff. I do not believe that Alistair would have the immediate favor of everybody in Ferelden. Loghain worked tirelessly to inject a narrative into the people of Ferelden. One that is a fear of the Grey Wardens. One that is a fear of the Orlesians. He got them stuck in an immense amount of what-ifs. He cultivated a sense of safety, security, and confidence in his leadership that, even though it might have been for evil reasons, worked on the masses, because the masses are ignorant to the background of why it is that he's showing up in the way that he is. So when Alistair gets the throne, kills Loghain, sends Anora to the tower, and immediately proclaims that he cares more for his duty as Grey Warden over his duty as king, the people that were following Loghain and were propagandized by Loghain are not going to go, oh, cool, okay. They're going to be terrified, because the a person with the identity that they have been told needs to be purged and killed because they are a threat to all of Ferelden has just become the leader. So even though those people were following a fascist, so to speak, they are going to believe that a fascist just took the throne because of the narratives that Loghain was spreading about him. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if there were some pockets of extremists that tried to rally against Alistair as a result. People do not just immediately change their perceptions on stuff like this just because, oh yeah, you know, well, we had a nice Landsmeet and we killed a guy and we sent another person up to the tower and now everybody knows everything that they all know about Alistair. That's not how this works. This is some real serious stuff. And Alistair needs to be prepared for what that's going to be. And we need to really strategize how we're going to handle those folks, how we're going to listen to those folks, how we're going to manage their fears, how we're going to reinforce that Alistair is indeed king. But what are the actions that he needs to take in order to change the representation of Grey Wardens? Because right now, if you're a person that followed Loghain, you are afraid that this is a Grey Warden takeover. That this is an insurrection. You would be worried about this. Understandably so. And does it help that we have the Landsmeet there? Does it help that we went through the traditional decorum that comes along and the traditional processes that go along with the Ferelden way? Yes. I think there are probably some people that will look at that and say, yeah, this is how we do things, and so I accept Alistair as king because of the process. But that's why I say the pockets of extremists are going to say, no. They infiltrated our process. They're going to create a whole lot of issues. And they're going to say, no, man. These guys came in like a battering ram. They killed Loghain. They came in with a show of force. They didn't listen. And we have been told that we need to be afraid, which is why I said so many episodes ago, that Loghain having the opportunity to create the first impression was the most dangerous thing that he ever did. Because now we have to get people off of their first line story of the Grey Wardens and of what we're about before we can build them up into understanding what our actual directive is and that we're acting in their best interest. The Landsmeet didn't go smoothly, for sure, but we still engaged in it. We still followed the processes of the Landsmeet. We didn't have enough for that to just be like, okay, fine. But I don't know that Loghain was even going to be fine with it, even if it did go well. Loghain's played dirty all the way through. The fact of the matter is, the Landsmeet ended with Alistair on the throne, Anora up in the tower, and Loghain dead. And those are the variables that we have to go with. So. There was no way that that was going to go smoothly. Calvin, we can't talk about... I don't know if you're spoiling or not, but one of the rules around here is not to talk about alternatives that can happen in the game. So if you're alluding to what the other options were potentially and how we handle the Landsmeet, I need to ask you to stop. Because... do you think Alistair might become resentful of you and Eamon because of your choice? I have no idea. He'll show that with time. He'll show that with time. And if he does, I would understand it. That is his prerogative. Because ultimately I did make the decision. I will stand by the fact that Alistair did not speak up. I wish Alistair would have been more vocal. And the times that he did speak up, he spoke up in favor of him being the king for the most part. So... all right. Final battle. All right, so we're really up on the end of this.
If one more servant asks if I would like a change of clothes, I will set the house on fire. I await your command.
Okay.
This is not as defensible as I would like, but it will do. Yes.
Okay, so there's not
As you wish.
not any new options. I think we need to pet the dog after all that. There we go. Everybody just chilling after all that, huh? Whew. That was pretty wild, huh? Ultimately, we don't know what's going to happen here. We made the decisions that we could make based on the information that we had. It was pretty sloppy, and that's how politics and people are. I was not anticipating that was going to be smooth. I was not thinking that we were going to go in there, we were going to win the favor of everybody, Loghain was going to stand down, and we were all going to walk out holding hands, linked arms, skipping up and down the carpet. The lesson that I think is worth illustrating here post-Landsmeet is that no matter how much anybody tries to tell you that they are thinking about the greater good, every single one of us at all times is to some degree acting in self-interest. Every single one of us is biased. Every single one of us has our own individual needs. Altruism is not something that exists in a context like this. There is a lot of posturing. People try, I was talking you through the ways that I was playing the game, right? I have certain things at stake that I bring to that. I have certain reasons why I want Alistair to be on the throne there. Alistair has his reasons for wanting and not wanting it. Anora has hers. Eamon has his. Loghain has his. Despite the fact that we came to that Landsmeet talking about how we are trying to, defend against the blight, act in the greater good, make sure that everybody's protected, yada, 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 there are personal agendas at stake. There are certain values that we bring in. There's certain lived experiences that we bring in, some of which are in our consciousness, some of which are a little bit more passively in the background. But no person in that Landsmeet, in that room, is unbiased and is acting purely from a place of altruism. So that's what makes these interactions so complicated. There are power dynamics, there are reputations, there are assumptions. So nobody there has the full, clear, omniscient picture of what's happening. All of us are limited by the things that we've seen, the things that we've heard, what level of influence we accept from the people that we believe are worth accepting influence from. Everybody acting in that room thinks they're acting in the best interest of themselves and of the country, which is why they are willing to fight in the way that they are. It's why they're willing to stand up for themselves. And when those things don't align, it's not as easy as just talking people out of it. Sometimes it's a matter of validating where people are coming from. Sometimes it's a matter of standing up for your principles based on what you know. Maybe a willingness to take some accountability if that doesn't end up being right. I have no idea if Alistair being on the throne is going to be a good idea. I have no idea if killing Loghain was going to be a good idea. We made that decision using the variables that we had, and if that ends up biting us in their ass, I'm not going to be particularly surprised. If it ends up working, cool. But you should never go into a situation where there is power and decision making to be done, thinking that everybody is just static in a vacuum and that this is all going to have a nice, clear, linear, best pathway through. The best thing that you can do is observe what's coming at you, know what variables you can control, listen to what's happening, observe what's going on, make decisions based off of those observations rather than of those assumptions that you might make, and you do your best. But if you go in with an expectation that you're going to perfectly handle something like that, you're screwed. And that's what's going to cultivate a level of social anxiety and decision-making anxiety. Confidence comes from the fact that you know that there's a chance that what you're doing may not necessarily be right, but that you're working with as many known variables as you possibly can. So, I don't know. That might not have been the best way for the Landsmeet to go. I don't really care how BioWare designed that to go and what BioWare thought was going to be the best path or not. Every step of the way, we've been discussing the decisions that I'm making with every single person that we come across. And sometimes that works out in the way that you hope, and sometimes it doesn't. It's been clean in some areas, and it has fallen apart in others. Anora walking into that Landsmeet and immediately turning on me in the way that she did, while not totally surprising, totally threw everything off. And that is probably a direct result of how I handled her when we were up in Eamon's estate and we were talking to her, and I would not commit to backing her. Right? So that her self-interest comes into play. But we get more information through observing rather than jumping down into these interactions and constantly putting ourselves out there and saying what it is that we want to say instead of paying attention to what other people are saying and responding. She could have toppled her dad and then made the argument that she had the throne. Sure, she could have, and she chose not to, right? So that if we get too caught up in what people could have done, that becomes problematic, right? We have to work with what they did do. Sure, what she could have done. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely, Scott, right? But she didn't do that. So that's what we have to work with. I'm curious why... Okay, that's a question. Zool, make sure you ask that question in Discord, because right now I'm only really taking questions related to the playthrough itself. There are always certain aspects. So even if you're wrong and you are being put in a question that they are not entirely right and they are also looking into their own interest, you should listen and act on your best interest with confidence. I think you can change some of the decisions you make based on the variables that come across your desk, so to speak. It's okay to understand. Oh, no need to apologize, Zool. It's good. I think it's important to acknowledge that, like, just because you're strong in your convictions doesn't mean that you have the whole picture. So when other people come over and they provide their perspective on what's going on and they show you their hand, that's not to say that they're entirely wrong. Case in point, I was fully prepared to put Anora potentially on the throne. And then Alistair came at me with his perspective of, I'm a Grey Warden and I see becoming a king as part of my directive as a Grey Warden. And that changed my decision. That influenced me, right? And so I fall back on my ultimate goal as the person that everybody's deferring to make decisions is to make the decision that I think is in the best interest of myself and Ferelden. But I have to acknowledge that I have something at stake there. Loghain being in power potentially means that me and other elves are fully oppressed and marginalized out. And even if Loghain was the best person to possibly be on the throne, if that's a reality for me, that's a factor that comes into my decision making when I'm given the power to make that decision. And that's what we always have to acknowledge, is we always have some level of personal stake in the decisions that we make, even if it just means how does that contribute to our reputation. But yes, if based on all the variables that you've been able to gather, what you brought into the engagement and what you've observed, if you then are at a point where you feel confident in a decision that you're making, yes, you act on that as best as you possibly can. It is okay to accept influence, though. Zero, thank you very much for the Prime sub, by the way. I appreciate that. So I hope that makes sense. There's a lot of wild dynamics that come to play when you start adding a bunch of cooks to the kitchen like that, and when there are really strong implications. I'm curious why you changed your mind from accepting surrender to not accepting the Grey Warden option. From accepting surrender to not accepting the Grey Warden option. I didn't accept the Grey Warden option because Alistair said no. Alistair at that point was decided, essentially, at least in my mind, was decided to be the king, because my understanding to that entire point was that as soon as I fought on behalf of Loghain and Loghain yielded, that meant Alistair has the throne. So when it was put on the table that Loghain was potentially going to become a Grey Warden, and then Alistair says, "No freaking way, dude. Absolutely not." He turned his back on the Grey Wardens. I don't want him to be in a position that I worked so hard to be in and that I hold dear. I don't trust him as a member of the Grey Wardens, both as a Grey Warden and as the king. I'm not going to undercut that. That was one of the first times Alistair spoke up. So since Alistair is the person that I'm advocating for having power, and because I was very non-committal to whether he should be in that or not, like I could kind of go either way on it, Alistair having a strong conviction there and being in the position of power is the one who deserves to make that decision. So that's why I said no. Is it problematic that Alistair seems very reliant on you and Eamon in his duties as king? No. I think that's a good thing. I don't believe that Alistair should rule independently. I actually think that the best leaders are people who build good support, they build good, diverse support systems around them. I think the best presidents are people who build a cabinet of people who are diverse and who are experts in their given areas and are willing to contribute ideas and hold the leader accountable and challenge what they're trying to do. I wouldn't want Alistair to be a strong, independent ruler. I think Alistair needs to be able to make decisions. I think he needs to build a sense of confidence in himself. But I actually think that Alistair having good advisory boards in his room with him as he makes difficult decisions is a good thing. So his willingness to acknowledge that he feels a sense of incompetence around this is good. Now, do I think that Alistair should be constantly deferring to his advisory board and seeking excessive reassurance on that stuff? No. I do think to an extent that Alistair is going to have to build a sense of this is what I want to do. This is where I'm at. I'm interested to hear your input. Accept some of that influence if he decides, but ultimately he needs to make the decision that he thinks is best because he's the one that's in that position, and that's the power structure that exists. But no, I do not believe that he should have absolute independent ruling power as the king. And I think if he engaged in that, it would be a problem, which is part of why I don't like the idea of putting Anora on the throne, because Anora was so me. I can do this. I led. I did this. I'm the one that did all. Like, she just was I, me. And to me, that's problematic. I didn't get any kind of sense from her that she had any interest in what the Grey Wardens have to say about the Blight. She didn't ask any questions about, like, from other people about what she thought that they should do. She didn't seem to be interested in what Arl Eamon had to say anything. She just kind of retired to her quarters. Every single conversation I had with her was, I want this. And the only reason that I'm good for this is because the other person is bad. And to me, that's not a good reason for her to be on the throne. I don't like that. The ability to listen to advisors and make a calculated decision based upon the advice, but also filter out the BS. Yes, I also think that Alistair would do well to have advisors that come from all the ranks. So I think that if Alistair only surrounds himself with human nobility, that's a problem. I think Alistair having me as an elf and a Grey Warden on the team is really important. I think that him having some representation potentially from Orzammar, from a topsider, having a representation from the Dalish Elves if they choose to be a part of that, having representation from the alienage. Like, if Alistair really wants to do this right, he should have diversity, not just across nobility, but he should have diversity across the ranks of social status. People that, because if he really wants to be a ruler that tries to equalize power structures and advocate for all of Ferelden, that's what needs to be on hand. And he has the opportunity to create that and listen to that. And because he's the king, so he gets to decide who is in his advisory board. You know, it's interesting, Ina, that you say that. I would be interested to know how much of Anora deferring to Loghain was her deferring to Loghain versus Loghain taking it and leveraging his role as her father. We didn't get to see that. So it's hard to know why Anora was so quick to allow Loghain, if she even allowed Loghain, after Kaelin died. We don't know. It could be patriarchal shit. And it also could be that she was willing, like, she could have had the broader system in hand and said, you know what, I want to have an advisor on board, and she chose her father. It's hard to know. But we didn't get that information, unfortunately. Yeah, we don't know why she appointed him as Regent, other than the fact that, like, it was her dad. And he came at her pretty strong and probably had a really strong narrative coming out of Ostagar. That was a lot, friends. That was a lot. But I hope that you all enjoyed this. If you're watching this on YouTube, it seems to me like the last part of this that we have is to do, I guess, the final battle. So we'll probably be, I guess, 33 or 34 episodes. But this was action-packed. There was a lot going on here. There's a lot of analysis. I had to be on my A game here. We really got to cut open a lot of stuff. I hope that my thoughts and analysis were interesting in some way. As always, I assume it was because you all hung out for it. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks again for taking the time out of your day in order to watch this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're binging, I'm sure you'll be right on to the final battle to see how all of this shakes out. I mean, as always, feel free to leave a comment down below. I just always ask that you not backseat or spoil in those comments. And leave a like on the stream on your way out. And come hang out with us on Twitch sometime. Right now, at the time that I'm talking, we have 162 people here hanging out and chatting and talking through this while it happens live. And if you want to be part of that group, we'd love, love, love to have you. But I appreciate you all very much, and I will look forward to seeing you in part 33, which will hopefully be out very soon. So, YouTube, I love you. I'll catch you on the next one.